Hey, it's Ari. Over the course of the year, we've had the privilege of talking to so many business and community leaders. And one of the things that we've noticed is there's a common thread of these leaders giving back and engaging in their communities. So for the holiday season, we put together a highlight episode to bring to the forefront how businesses and business leaders do so much for the communities that they're in. I want to wish you and your families a safe, healthy, and happy New Year and holiday season. Enjoy the episode. A quick interruption to remind you to like, subscribe, and rate this podcast so we can get your feedback and know how to make it better.
I believe that life's been good to me. And so I am in the give back mode. And I've spent my life giving back. And we've been fortunate to be able to do so. We give back in money, but even more important, we give back in time. I've been president of the Beth Israel Synagogue, the Hartford Jewish Federation, the Hebrew Home and Hospital. I've served on 25, 30 boards throughout the community over the last 45 years. And I've gotten a very interesting perspective of the community. But more important than that, we've helped a lot of people. And one of the reasons at Plymouth Spring that we have such good management is because I didn't want to be a slave to the business every day. I wanted to be able to supervise and run it, but I didn't want to have to do the day-to-day every single day. And I was at the point where I knew I could find the right person, and I did. And that's allowed my wife and I to spend a lot of time doing other things and helping a lot of people.
The Science Center provides services to basically enrich the experience of being at a Parks and Rec center or camp, going to community centers, going to classrooms all across the state. A big part of what we do. And those tend to be slightly more intensive interactions with our staff who specialize not only in a science area or several, but in making that exciting through activities and, demonstrations and interactions that they've created and perfected over time. So that's a big part of what we do. With regard to schools, a lot of that is key to the state science framework so that it's a really appropriate and valuable use of time in a classroom, not just kind of helter-skelter. And the field trips are designed the same way so that a teacher knows there's a trail guide, for example. There's specific exhibits that are tuned to the state science framework. So the thing they're teaching, if they choose to, they can point their students to specifically at the Science Center.
And you said put on your other hat. So while we're there, let's get to that, because something that you and I talked about briefly kind of in prep for this interview, but clearly your passion came out right away in spades, was what you called your second act, which is sort of the community service, giving back. Clearly being a state senator, is a way of giving back. So I think maybe if you could just talk briefly about why you think it's important to give back and then why this way of doing it.
Well, I ask myself that question all the time. But I look, anybody who's been successful in business, Warren Buffett says it much more eloquently than me. If not for the roads, if not for the infrastructure, if not for the education system, if not for all the things that make this country great, none of us would be successful, right? And if not for the luck, the good fortune, call it what you will. I'm not a religious person, but I believe in karma, and I believe that we're not here. There's not no purpose in our being here. So I never thought that I would be in the business world. And for all the years that I was in the business world, up until I was about 50, I was kind of reluctant. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to make enough money, and I'm not going to worry about money, and then I'm going to, be a counselor or a therapist or a minister or whatever. And one thing that one of the mentors I had, a very successful guy who lived in Old Lyme, we listened to my whole story about wanting to do something different. And he said, let me just tell you that there's not much better than you can do with your life than being a good employer, because people depend on you. You have all those families that really rely on working with you and working for you. So that made it a little easier because helping people was always part of what I wanted to do. But like everybody who lives in a small town, you're always called on to do something, right? Whether it was being the treasurer for the Y swim team, whatever it was, or sitting on a board or commission in town, because a lot of the town governments are volunteer. I did those things, and then at one point a friend of mine ran for selectman, and he asked me to run with him, and I said, sure, why not?
We have a great relationship with the University of Hartford. My brother Lou, who's president and CEO of Bauer, is on the board for the School of Engineering there. And in fact, our family and Bauer just donated a room in their new Hersey Center, which is a new School of Engineering on campus. So we're very proud to be part of that and have our name on that room. But we've had tremendous success. I think we have 8 of our engineers who graduated the University of Hartford. Many of them started as summer interns. And so they'll work at Bauer for maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, and see if it's a fit. And we, assess whether they're a fit for the organization. It's really been a win-win situation to do that.
So it's really interesting. I want to pull on that thread a little bit because it's something that I've been trying to kind of get a lot of manufacturers to think more about, which is to really engage with the educational platforms. Why do people rob banks? Because that's where the money is. Well, if I'm looking to find new engineers, might as well partner up with a university because that's where the new engineers are.
Right.
And getting that kind of those people going in the summer, getting them started, get them a real opportunity to see, feel, and experience the uniqueness of a business. And then they get a trial run, you get a trial run. Seems like you guys have embraced that. Is that a fair characterization?
Absolutely. And, we'll get involved with, like at the University of Hartford, I personally have done resume boot camps there.
Really?
So to get to meet, maybe a dozen of their undergraduates, and then I get to choose who maybe I want to come in and interview for a summer internship. But it's through, I just had someone call me yesterday, and it was someone through our hometown down in Clinton who's part of the church, and they're an engineering student, sophomore year, and he's going to come in over the holidays to interview with us for a summer internship. So, it doesn't have to be just University of Hartford. We have relationships with UConn, with Quinnipiac, with CCSU. But it really is it's a great way to bring in that talent.
But we did bring back a couple, veteran teachers. We hired some new staff. We actually, a remarkable story, had a young man that had been through the program 7 or 8 years previous, went out into industry, worked for, those 7 years, and we brought him back to do some CNC teaching. And then he ended up leaving. He was working second shift. He'd come in, teach 8 to 11 or 8 to 12, go to work at 2. Work and do it all over again. But he said that he found the work so rewarding that he just wanted to teach. So we were able to find a place for him that he could get the bills paid because he's relatively a young man, and it's a big career shift.
Yep.
To go out of industry and to come into education, especially in a nonprofit world. So that's exciting. Then we started building up our administrative staff. And what's great about what we've done in our admin world is that we've done a lot of work with our Regional Workforce Investment Board, where they have programming that helps people who have been long time unemployed or perhaps single mothers who have had children that were not of school age that they had to stay home and take care of, but now are looking for work. And we've used their programming to have them come into our program and work for us with funding and see if they're a good fit. And sure enough, we've had multiple good fits, and now they're part of the MASC team.
How do you guys think about workforce development in that?
Okay, so we're actually lucky in that we don't need a lot of high-skilled individuals. In fact, we employ several special needs, both developmental and physical. we employ a lot of that because, again, it helps us with seasonality. Part of predictability that I want is to be able to actually predict even further ahead, to be able to know what kind of workforce we can bring in. I'm growing my staff, and I've used, as a matter of fact, the apprenticeship program. My operations manager is a result of the apprentice program. I wasn't able to afford somebody off the street to come in and learn candy. I was able to work with the Department of Labor to put together a customized apprentice program for a candy-specific operations manager. So we do that. But I don't have the need. I have 30 employees, only 7 are full-time. We average about 13 and a half full-time equivalents by the time you add up the year. So what I don't have is the same battle for highly taught individuals to run a CNC machine or something like that. But what I can help with, and being acutely aware of the workforce need here, is as we touch youngsters, we're able to get the word out. And I'm doing this through every time a school group comes in, they're going to hear this is manufacturing and this is a great career, whether it's chocolate or not. So I'm actually able to provide a service and I've talked with the folks at CCAT about institutionalizing this and maybe using chocolate as a medium to teach the next generation and parents that manufacturing is a career that they should look at. Not everybody needs to go to college. Yeah. So although I don't have the same need, it's pretty easy to get people to work in a chocolate factory.
You're a guy that, in addition to all the stuff you've done, and in your various careers and the great accomplishments you've had there, you're somebody that's taken time to engage in the community. And I just would love to kind of get your take and your inspiration about why you think it's important for business leaders to engage outside their walls, and not just engage outside their walls in things like this that talk about their business and expand their business, but in things that are unrelated, their kids' education, other nonprofits. Just talk about why you do it and why you think other people should think it's important to put their time in that.
So I think I've been doing this in a way that I feel helping others in a community that may be less fortunate is really important. It's just part of who we are, regardless of what businesses we're in. So I think everyone should do it. And so to me, it's just probably comes natural. But again, I don't want to be kind of self-promoting about it. So I think it's important to help other people in the community. It's part of the core value of being humble and share successes. So that's one. The second, for the business, and especially for business leaders, I think it's hugely important because I personally believe that when business move from one location to another, from one state to another, more likely than not is because their CEO didn't have a connection to that community. It's just my belief. Mm-hmm. If the CEO is connected to the community and really participates and involved, it's a lot harder to move. Right? It's a lot harder. And the decision getting, and I know it may sound, it's not about dollars and cents all the time, but I think it's important. I think the business is a big part of the community, but by giving people jobs and employment, we're lifting people out of poverty, we're helping them create better lives. And I think we have a responsibility that goes just beyond, our day-to-day job. So
you've been so out there in the community. And I think one of the things that I've noticed from successful business people and other people that we've talked to on this podcast and people that will be coming on the podcast, and I'm not sure what the direct linkage is, but one thing I've noticed is people that are successful in business tend to be out there in the community. So, I mean, you're chairman of GNAC, chairman of the Eastern Connecticut Workforce Investment Board, vice chairman of Three Rivers Community College, chairman of the Eastern Advanced, EMA and Eastern Advanced Manufacturing Alliance. You've been on a lot of stuff. Sure. Obviously, you got the name out there. You were 40 under 40 for the Norwich Day. I mean, you're just out there, and I just would wonder, it's not a question I've asked before, but what do you see as the linkage? Well, why are you out there? Is it specifically to get something for your business? Is it just a part of your personality? Like, what do you see? Why do you get involved in the community and do stuff?
So I would definitely say I believe a rising tide lifts all ships.
Me too.
So if I also believe you can't complain about the problem if you're not willing to be part of the solution.
Absolutely. Roll up your sleeves and get in there.
That's right.
Or get out of the game.
So that's the reality of it. I never can have somebody say, you don't have the right to say that because you don't work it. I work it. And being involved. And I'm passionate about all of those programs.
So we kind of work through the idea of creating a workspace that attracted that kind of talent, and creating a culture within that, and carrying forward what our thoughts were. We really value our employees and giving them back what they need. So if they need an environment where they want to socialize together, we want to do Fridays where there's a happy hour for them, and we celebrate birthdays. We kind of do breakfasts in the morning for each and every employee, because people come from different places. Some have eaten, some haven't. We don't want them to struggle with that. So it's right there for you.
Everyone gets breakfast every day?
Every day.
100% of the time?
100% of
What do we get for breakfast?
So far, we've created a little lounge in between our, executive floor where everybody can come and congregate. And so we provide a cold breakfast.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the permits to provide a hot breakfast. But it's like cereal, oatmeal,
Nice.
muffins, fruits, smoothies, that kind of
People
stuff.
love their smoothies.
Yeah.
That's great.
There's some themes you see with a lot of folks, that the successful people do certain things, and this corporate responsibility, this engaging in the community, whether it's specific green initiatives, getting involved in boards, and just engaging the community, seems to be like a common thread I'm seeing with organizations that are successful and growing. And Stanley's sort of no different. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Like, what is the linkage? Why is there such a linkage between successful companies and the corporate responsibility? Is there a linkage? Do you think it's just a random, or do you think there is some linkage there?
We believe that people want to work for organizations that have a purpose.
Yep.
And this generation has when we were growing up, everyone was shooting for the stars and wanted to be an astronaut. But everyone now is really wanting to take care of, Mother Earth and the society. And people want to be part of something bigger.
Yep.
A while ago, work was really decoupled from life, and now work becomes part of someone's identity, part of their personal mission, and they want to activate their purpose. Our purpose, why we exist, is we are for those who make the world, because we make things that build the world.
Yep.
So we're for the makers in the world, and I think that draws people to come work for us, that we have a purpose. So corporate social responsibility has a multiple of opportunities to define this purpose, and it activates the existing workforce, but also draws talent to you, because people, they want to be part of something bigger.
More than just like a money machine. They want to know they've got some value in there. You were recognized in 2017 as one of the top 5 givers nationally, philanthropically. You've been really involved with the Rochester Institute of Technology, where you're a graduate from, right?
Yes.
Yeah, graduate from. You've given a lot of money. It's something that I'm interested to understand. What drives that when you think about it? Why do you do it? How do you think about it? Why give?
Well, because it mainly, like, you don't really want to spend it all like that. That's ridiculous. It also, it's hard when you're dealing with like unfathomably large sums. And at least for me, like the first step in the journey is like, how do I pay back like the people that believed in me? And so like, I've got my immediate family, my folks, things like that like you make sure that they're taken care of. And the university, like, they took a chance and accepted me to go there, and so it was an opportunity to like, hey, let me see if I can do something impactful. That this is not a university, it's not MIT, it's not Georgia Tech, and what can I do to enable them to create, more businesses like Datto, more stories like that, and so it was an opportunity to do that, and then. Further on, you think about ways that what can you do to make it or be super impactful in a lot of people's lives and give back to those that made your success possible. And like that is a journey and a project that I will probably be working on for the rest of my life associated with that. But it's also very important to me that like the money does go back and goes back in a reasonable time period.
I've been very blessed. Starting in the high school with different things that I was afforded the opportunities to travel and do experiences with, or have experiences with, and then through college. I think I really saw it when I was at Connecticut College in New London, and I was working at the Office of Volunteers for Community Service, and I was the head of the organization for a period of time, and we had to write federal grants. And our group was to go out into the New London public schools to help them develop programming for literacy or for numeracy or for peer mentors, whatever it may be. And in that process, I was very fortunate to work with the president of the college at the time, Dr. Claire Gaudiani, and learn a little bit about how to write grants, but also understand from her perspective how Conn College was situated as part of the New London community. It wasn't just the students that were there, some of them very affluent, taking from the community, but also giving back to the community. So I think that mindset, and it's also been part of my life with my parents. My parents were always actively involved in volunteering in a variety of capacities in the community that I grew up in. So I think that became instilled in me. But it also, the success that came from it, it's contagious. You know, if you start doing something like that and you say, okay, wow, look we just got this large grant to do a literacy program for women in the Niantic Women's Prison and their children, or we just got this grant to set up a new science foundation. You know, that grows and it makes you it gets that fire in your belly.
Yeah, you want some more.
And then when you become, I became a teacher and I chose to go to Willimantic. I was thrilled to work there. Again, it was a depressed area. But the community wanted to support the schools. And I was fortunate enough to work with 5 other individuals that had the same passion on my team. And we did whatever we had to do to get what we needed for our students. And we were the team that the community connected with.
Peers are critical to one's success, whether it be a SMA meeting that you go to and you're meeting a few more people, or whether you're serving on a board of another organization, once again, interacting with other people. Example that I'll even use is I was on a conference call the other day and we were waiting for a few people to join. That conversation that gets started initially, and it's like back as we said before, oh, you too have that problem? And it's all of a sudden, oh, phew, I'm not alone. And I think that it then creates a relationship where you start calling people up and saying, hey, I'm just touching base. How are things going? What's your challenges? What did you do with this? Have you used this program? Oh, no, I haven't. Can you tell me more about it? I think that's where a lot of that has helped, especially with a lot of the special grants that were issued for manufacturing. Trying to stay abreast of that and do your job sometimes is a challenge, to say the least. So if you have those connections, somebody sends you that information, okay? The PPP most recently, I think, is another example where sharing amongst your peers was a very helpful process.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by IT Direct, a Compass MSP company.
As always, thank you so much for tuning in and spending some time with me today. My goal is to help build a community where we can learn and grow together. Your input, feedback, and engagement is critical to making that happen. Please do comment, like, and subscribe so more and more people can hear what we're doing and join our community of growth and success. Thanks so much for tuning in. Talk to you again soon.